Today is November 28th, 2022, and it's 5:30 in the morning, and I'm going to go ahead and add some wheels onto this Dakar. A couple things I did off camera was I added a little bit of wax to the back deck lid just so that I could put a wing on it like the Dakar does. I'm gonna refine this once it's casted, because the wax is so fragile. If I try to carve it super thin, it will break off. And then I also beefed up the rear bumper a little bit. The car has a really beefy back bumper, and I added a skid plate on the front. So now we'll go ahead and add some wheels to this before I cast it. So I have my Dakar wheels here, which are a little bit bigger than the other wheels. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a little bit of this acrylic and put like a dot on the wheel so that it'll just hold it in place while it cures. Kind of like that. And then get my model here, and then come in here with the wheel. And we're just gonna hold it in place until it starts to set up. I wanted these wheels a little larger so I can give a little bit of clearance like that. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more acrylic on the other side. That's a whole lot of acrylic. Actually, there's more acrylic liquid, so that's okay. Still want to be careful though, because that liquid can actually melt the acrylic on the body. So that's not considered a good thing to drip that much on there. A little bit more back here. So basically the acrylic on each side of the wheel is going to be what holds it there. So I'm going to have a little bit of fender clearance into here once it's casted, so that you know, you can tell it's lifted. That looks good like that. Let that sit. Looks good. So I'm going to do that to all four wheels, and then I'll come back so that you don't, it's basically going to be the same thing times 4. So I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so have all the wheels on. If you could see through here, I have them set pretty high, so it looks like it's in the full lifted mode for off-road driving. You can see some space underneath the wheel wells. It's gonna look pretty cool when it's casted. I have the wing basically built up. I'll refine that once it's in gold, so I don't have to worry about breaking it off. Back bumper is beefy. Got my front skid plate. Looks like we're pretty close to putting on the pin part that'll go inside the lapel. But before I do this last step, I do so that I could start putting the inscriptions on the inside of the casting. So what I'll do is I take some I take some more carburing wax and I start smoothing out the inside here. And what it does is not only gives me some thickness of material, but also gives me something to write in, because it's a lot easier to write in wax than it is to write in acrylic. So just add a thin layer of wax here, and so this will bring my thickness of the gold up from about 0.5 millimeter to 3/4 to 1 millimeter. And it also makes the casting a lot smoother on the inside, because the acrylic's rough, and then the wax, once I melt this wax, it's really smooth. So it does a couple things, or 3 things actually. It gives me something to write on, gives me some thickness, and smooths out the inside of the casting, so that when I glass bead it, I take glass bead to polish the inside, it looks a lot more, shiny, more brilliant, more goldy looking. So I spread this around, and I write, 18 karat gold. I'll write the number, the series of the piece I'm working on, and I'm going to start putting actual like car serial identification numbers to like one-offs in limited production cars. For Dakar, not going to be that critical. I'm going to put, this will be casting, or this will be car number 5, casting number 1. So I'll put 5.1 in it. Now I can see just by working on this that I need to refine the master buck. There's some little details that I see that I'm not quite happy with, so I'm going to refine the master buck before I do another one. But on this one, this is basically how it's going to look. Okay, so let me show you how I do the inscription. I take this dental tool that I carved down to a super sharp point, and I'm going in the front here, I'm going to put 18 karat, because that's the gold content. So I'll just write, here's 1, 8, and then a K. There's my 18 karat, if you can see that. And on the top here, I'm going to do 5.1. 5.1. Get some of that wax out of there. 18 karat, 5.1. You know it's a sport, or a Dakar, by the way, by looking at it, hopefully. And I'll be putting the little hook part, or the loop part that goes through the buttonhole in your suit jacket on the back of the acrylic. So I'll do that, and then I'll show you how I sprue up the whole pattern together. And this is going to be so that we can cast it in gold. It's basically the lost wax casting technique that has been around for 1,000 years. I'll show in the next video how we set it up to get that mold made. So as usual, thank you so much for watching. Hope it's interesting to you, and we'll see you on the next video.